It looks like last week those individual stocks got it right in saying that upside was the right direction for now, but we are already approaching the weekly expected move, which is where some problems can come up. So we're going to get you guys some an updated daily expected move, see if this thing is going to continue to squeeze, because something about a squeeze is it's usually something that can end you in that 32% zone. So we need to be paying attention. But as we have taken back 570, a key level for this week, maybe we need to continue to pay attention to some upside, and maybe there's just going to be pullbacks from here. So let's get into it. You look at this and you go, hey, we did not really go make the more complex, the more bearish looking 2 hour move to the downside. That's fantastic. But remember that there is always the chance that the daily will reject, and a lot of people paying attention to that rejection at the 200. I would not be surprised for this to pull back into test something like 570. And we always left a gap behind, which always could be some unfinished business, for maybe a liquidity grab to come fill that gap. Now, I'm talking mostly about positivity because everything is really curled up into positive territory, and something that this can do is project itself all the way up to something like 585 before we actually experience a significant pullback. So we'll be watching. As we go into the 30-minute chart, we're going to get you guys those updated daily expected moves. We see that they're pretty tight for the SPY. They actually did shrink down for the SPY, but the Qs, they actually increased just a tiny bit. 578.95 to the upside for tomorrow. This is your 68% zone. You do have 569.21 to the downside for tomorrow. And notice that that lies right around that 570 level. So something we could see is that 30-minute pull back into these levels, or we could see this more behave like a squeeze where we see another gap up for the SPY here today. Now, that could be interesting, as we did make what seems to be potential for island reversal on this 30-minute to go back to the upside. Do we see that continued pressure, and are the risks starting to heighten for the week at this point? You would normally say yes, and you would want to still be having that plan for if it goes wrong. But at this moment, you can notice that this market is looking like it's been bottled up and bearish for a long time. We have serious put volume at this moment. And if you get above something like 580, you see closings up there. There is not a ton of stuff above 580 to stop you. Maybe some stuff at 585, 590 up in those levels. But if you can make it above 580 soon, that would be a huge thing. Something I would be aware of is if we need to make structure. A good way to make structure would be for a potential, even for a 2 hour pullback, where we are able to shoot up and fill this gap up towards 585. We come up to that level, and then you see that curl back down. This would be a great way to head higher and stay within the monthly expected move, which is a fantastic thing. So as of right now, everything looks good. Everything looks good. We will be updating and seeing if everything continues to look good in the morning during the live show. As it stands right now, I think the only thing I'm worried about is a 30-minute pullback. Maybe that pullback is aggressive to fill this gap, but as long as this remains in positive territory, hey, we could keep seeing more upside. So this looks great. Let's just keep updating our plan as we go throughout this upside move. The Q is really utilizing that retest of that area towards 478.45, the downside monthly expected move and breakout moment. We can always come down into these type of levels to retest, so we have daily expected moves for you. 30-minute pullback would be a good thing, but if you're squeezing, you can always see gaps up. And we did point this out over on Patreon that the 30-minute getting overbought right here, it remains overbought for a long time if you're going to squeeze. So just take that into consideration. 495.88 to the upside if we're going to be able to continue that positivity, and 485.44 to the downside if we're going to get some kind of 30-minute pullback. We'll look for gaps and things like that and talk about that more during the live show in the morning. And this is where I did want to mention that I do potentially have jury duty in the morning, so I will hope to be live tomorrow morning, if not just leaving the stream with some daily expected moves, having you guys maybe chat in the community together. But right now I have to call after I make this video to see if I have to show up tomorrow. So for the time being, 30-minute pullback looks like the most likely thing that the Qs need if it is not indeed squeezing. So we will pay attention to that tomorrow. Apple, a lot of people talking very positively about Apple, and this is a great level to get to. I mean, if we can project a little bit higher and then get that pullback moment to retest maybe that 5-day moving average as it comes up, that would be a fantastic thing for Apple. Seeing this thing be able to go very positive, maybe even seeing a 2-hour pullback that curls up into positive territory. That could just be on the 30-minute, though, as the 30-minute has no reversal signal in sight. It says, hey, if we do go just a little bit higher, maybe we do see that resistance come in at these levels. Maybe we gap above that, right? Apple has been doing some crazy downside behavior, and this is one of the most complex ones to trade for this overall squeeze that could be taking place and just starting really right now. I mean, the upside that we're really looking for. We're aware that it could make daily divergence below if we want to reject at some point, but at the end of it all, I believe in the next 2 months, all these stocks are you're gonna look back and you're gonna see all these stocks at higher prices, and that's just how it's gonna be sometime in the next 2 months. I think we're gonna see higher prices than these levels, and I think it'll be dramatic. But 30-minute, if that wants to pull back, we can use the 5-day. Notice that we are still overall kind of holding too well in this channel. We want to see that moment where we really break through. So another gap up would actually be a fantastic thing for Apple. Do I think it's the easiest thing to trade? No, not necessarily. But one thing that we said was a pretty good trade was Tesla, and Tesla on the 2 hour, right, looking for that potential for higher low. Hey, we get that to confirm back, then it takes the 5, then we head to the upside, and this thing is really seeing some crazy price action. Remember, I was just, down at these levels just saying, everyone's really bearish on Tesla, and I think it's going to see a 50% move up in the next 2 months. And guess what? It started right away. Just a few days later, started that move. And I think this thing could get as high as 357.78 in the next 2 months. So we'll see. But a level that it really wants to get to is that 302.50, 303 level. That would be a great place for this to consolidate in some way. Whereas right now, it's actually at a key place right now where it could consolidate. So this is one that has seen the crazy upside move. This is one that has seen a bigger upside move than most. So this is one where the decision making becomes a little bit different, right? The decision making could be leaning towards, hey, maybe I do want to make sure to lock in some profits on the way up and keep moving up my stop. And I think that's a perfect thing to do. But overall, these daily charts look like, hey, they're just getting going. We can reject at that 200, so we'll watch out for it. But it really looks like Tesla wants to keep going up to around 300 to 302, and we'll be watching for that. Obviously, if we see 2 hours curl down, hey, that might be an aggressive pullback, but we are above the 5. So anytime that pulls back, look for that thing just to curl right back up into positive territory. Amazon, you're kind of in a similar boat where the divergences actually were fantastic. So I love this play right now. I'm still all in on this play right now, and I understand we're getting to a point where we're about to hit weekly expected move. We could pop down and maybe we see consolidation to retest into this area. I think it would be nice to get an aggressive move, keep going to the upside, then an aggressive move down. That would be very interesting. But if this thing's going to keep squeezing, let's just see if it keeps holding that upside, because right now, 30 minutes super positive. It just tells me, hey, even if we see aggressive pullbacks, they can be aggressive. We've seen a big move, but most of those most likely will be bought back up at this point. We're past that 570 for the SPY. Amazon's getting through some key levels in here, so pullbacks would be there. But if it's not going to pull back, you might just be off to the races, because you look at this daily chart, it's taking back the 200, it's taking back the 20, it's taking back every single thing that you have, and then you just go, okay, this really looks like it wants to make an upside move, possibly to 210. 210 is the area where I'll be watching. If we get through that, get past 213.52, this thing can keep squeezing, so that is a very good thing. But I am starting to look at this and go, okay, the next big move, if we get another big move, that might be my first opportunity to take some risk off for Amazon and just be like, okay, let me lock in those profits early and then leave the runners for potential for squeezing there. Nvidia, very good to curl up on the daily chart. Looking for the 2 hour confirmation, and we got it. Now, Nvidia hasn't broken through to really give you that, yes, we're positive. This is why a gap up tomorrow would be a great thing for Nvidia, because Nvidia was the first one to give us that real 2 hour divergence that showed good positivity, right? This didn't make it as complex as other ones to see the first upside move. Nvidia did the thing. Nvidia got to a key level. Nvidia pulled back. Nvidia curled back up into positive territory. All of this looks extremely bullish. It just does. The daily chart there to prove it. And then is this 30-minute really, are we at risk of seeing some kind of big drop? It would be more if the 2 hour can cross back down. You might see a bigger drop, but right now the 30-minute might just need to reload before it's able to make the next move higher and break through these resistances in here. So as it stands, I wouldn't be surprised if Nvidia squeezes further. And as it stands, I wouldn't be surprised if Nvidia needs a 30-minute pullback, say going into tomorrow. You're starting to notice a theme here where we could head up a little bit higher and then build that structure, right? So that's what we have to be worried about. But if this thing just keeps gapping, holds up, doesn't see resistance come in, gaps above key levels, it's going to be a good thing. And you might just be in the beginning stages of a squeeze. So just be aware of that. You are seeing volatility drop off very dramatically. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But Microsoft looks really good with the 30-minute, with the 2 hour. It looks fantastic. You're not even overbought yet by any means. So normally when I do see some kind of squeeze potential starting here, I like to see a 2-hour at least get overbought before I start to think, okay, daily charts are going to cross down. So we'll see how this behaves over the next few sessions. But overall, this looks like squeezing that has the opportunity to fail, right? We know it has the opportunity to fail, but in order to fail, you're going to need that 2-hour to cross down right now, and that's going to be very aggressive if that happens. So we'll watch it during the live show. We're open to even 2-hour or 30-minute pullbacks. 30-minute pullback would be the most likely thing I would see if we're going to reload in some way for Meta. Maybe that starts off with the upside move, then we get an aggressive downside move, get people nice and bearish, and then we can curl up into positive territory with some data later on in the week. AMC, I know everyone's saying this is barcoding, but at the same time, it's doing what it needs to do to build good structure. I mean, if you just draw across, even with the wick or something like that, you're just going, even if it's not perfect, I like to see how it is behaving. And it is really behaving well for a stock that people are so bearish on. And I think that's fine. At the end of the day, hey, I make my own decisions. I see a 2-hour divergence on the MACD there. I see divergence on the RSI and MACD at the same time on the daily scale. So you bet your ass I'm going to be playing this thing. I'm going to have some fun with it, see if we can make some money. But for the most part, the 2 hours positive, right? What do we say? The daily needs to be curled up. Hey, that has a chance to go positive and reverse the trend around. Not positive yet, but a good check, almost like a half check. The 2-hour, it's positive in positive territory. That's a great thing. The 30-minute here is positive in positive territory. And we see right away how this would start to fail. The 30-minute curls down, and then that's able to go negative. That would be the first sign that this is failing. But is this some kind of dramatic thing right now? No, we're most likely going to have to wait for GME earnings tomorrow after hours. 342 is the crazy level to get through for this week, and you can see how that would be the perfect level to get to build more structure. So we'll see if we're going to do something like that in the near future for AMC. GME, as far as earnings goes, it's not showing the daily divergence like AMC is, which is perfectly fine, right? You don't see the divergence on the MACD or RSI. The important thing here is how do we do, and do we build up to 28.35 for some kind of consolidation? Is this going to be a regular stock and be good and have good behavior throughout, or are we going to see a big move here? So that's what I'm wondering at this point. I'm not necessarily that bearish on GME actually going into earnings. I don't think we see proper things to technically be bearish on it, and earnings overall can be a 50-50 flip. So that just makes total sense. 28.35 is what you need to cross through, but 28.35 is where that battle can begin. You might see this thing turn down for a bit, but then you see this, this, and this. So it would be nice for this daily to actually get up into positive territory and see a nice move from earnings for GME. So am I bearish on it? Am I bullish on it? I mean, my money says I'm positioned in it in some way for an upside move. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily like super bullish on the stock right now. I just think, hey, if it's going to happen, this would be a great timing for it. Getting some unexpected news, some very good unexpected news would really help push GME past that 28.35. Briefly wanted to shout out gold before we talk about, or GLD, before we talk about volatility, the VIX. Just gold does have daily divergence, just so you are aware. We've been talking about this for this upside move pretty much the entire time we've tried to update you on it. The reason we were bearish up here is pretty obvious, and there's another reason right here why we think that this is overall maybe a top for GLD at the moment. It does not mean the move has to be done. The weekly chart, I believe, does suggest that it could see another weekly upside move, but gold really looks like it's about to take a back seat here, which is very interesting as it saw dramatic upside while everything was seeing dramatic downside. I wanted to point that out to you. Is there some kind of correlation there? Yeah, we'll find out. But right now, the volatility is down at that 200. We are almost directly to it. Something about volatility is the only signal that was worrying me was, do we see support at the 200? So do we turn down right now, see some kind of pullback? But I do believe it would be just that. Even if it's aggressive, I believe it would be a pullback because this is not a very good signal. It can make things whip up. So if a daily crosses back up, I'll be watching. That is highly less probable compared to the monthly moves that we're expecting as of right now, right? We built back into the expected moves, so it'd be very fishy for us to just drop out of them all of a sudden, go down to 550 and close outside of them by next Monday. So if we're going to make that downward move down to 550, it needs to be quick, it needs to be sharp, and it needs to most likely happen over the next 2 trading sessions, and I'm not leaning towards it. We are now violating a lot of the divergence. You still hold the point on the RSI right here. And actually, it updated. Like I said, watch it after hours because I just looked at it at the end of the day for volatility. And now, look at this. Boom and boom. So even if we get a reaction here from volatility and the SPY sees some kind of pullback, right, it's really leaning towards we're going to keep squeezing even on all these little pullbacks throughout the week. It's going to end up in a squeeze. So that's overall what I'm seeing from volatility at this moment. If it turns up, most likely those would fail. If we start to see reversal signals around 1683, such as a 2-hour or 30-minute divergence, we will make you aware of that. As of right now, it was only down by 9.24%. So it's just saying, hey, this is an aggressive move up, but it's not too aggressive to make us say there's an 85% chance of a down day in the next 2 trading sessions. That is not there. So just be aware. This is very likely. If you close below the 200 a few times, yeah, you can get a reaction around here. But if you keep failing those reactions and you end up closing below that 200, it's a pretty set thing that we're going to see a squeeze and maybe end up down towards 1212. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Really do appreciate you guys liking and subscribing. The main takeaway here is we look like we have serious potential to squeeze, and this is the first sign that we really wanted to see of that potential to squeeze, right? We wanted to see that 570 taken back. We've taken back 570. Now we understand little pullbacks can happen, but they also don't have to, right? We've seen a lot of moments where you start to squeeze and you just see gaps and gaps and gaps. Once again, if you see gaps and gaps and gaps, we'll still be watching those. We'll be watching for if we tag a weekly or monthly expected move, maybe going on into next week. But next week, we will get updated monthly expected moves. So make sure if you want them, you're joining the Patreon to get them for all the individual stocks. But we will put those out on YouTube for the SPY and the Qs on Monday night. Tomorrow, just so you know, jury duty. Hope I don't get selected. Hope I don't have to go in. But just in case I do, we might not have the live stream in the morning, but we still have Rumble. We have the closing streams in the afternoon. If you guys would like to join us over on Rumble, just look at any of the previous live streams, and we should have that in there for you so you can get the link to it. I'll make sure to put it in the description of this video. Thank you guys so much. Wish you nothing but luck, and I don't think you guys need a lot of luck because we have a plan for tomorrow just like we have a plan for today. It just takes updating that plan from this point forward, really, to see if that squeeze is going to continue. And then it's our job to start to make some money, maybe around that 585 level. Thank you guys. Have a great night, and I will see you guys in the morning. Peace out.